Hello, my name's Justin Porter. Welcome to my 30-second video. And tonight, my subject I'll be talking about is drugs and religion. How I think drugs and religion are twins. Yes, I believe drugs and religion are twins. And how do I say drugs and religion are twins? Well, let me talk about drugs first. I first started taking drugs when I was about 13, and my grandfather's drinking bar was open, and I used to take swigs of my grandfather's port. So alcohol was the first drug. My introduction to drugs was when I was about 13, and it was port. And I loved the way the port made me feel. It numbed my nervous system and it gave me a tingle, and I loved the feeling, and I used to sneak gulps of port. By the age I was 16, I started to get drunk, so drunk in fact that I would vomit and say stupid things and act like a clown, and the next day I would have the rip-roaring headache. And that was in 1977 when I was 16. And then I used to abuse drugs. I used to sniff lighter fluid and get high on that. I used to take car sickness tablets to get high on them. I started smoking marijuana in 1978 when I was 17. And I think marijuana should be legal. By the way, I think they should legalise marijuana. I'm not saying marijuana is good or bad. I'm not saying alcohol is good or bad. But if they're going to legalise alcohol, legalise marijuana, because I kind of feel that alcohol does more harm than marijuana. But I took LSD. I was about 18. I had heroin when I was 20. Only had it once, loved it, enjoyed it. Never got addicted to it because I knew it was addictive, and I only had it once. And people used to say, well, it's a very addictive, and the first time you have it, that's the best time, and you try to recapture that magic. So I only had it one time. And and then I was smoking marijuana all from 1978 until I became a Jehovah's Witness. And I became a Jehovah's Witness. I got baptised in 1996. At the age of 35, I became a baptised Jehovah's Witness in 1996 at the age of 35. So drugs were always something that numbed my pain. They made me escape the reality of life, and life's realities were so painful, drugs just put a band-aid on it. But drugs didn't help me cope with the real issues of my life and the real issues of the reality of life and what life is. And I mention alcohol as a drug because I believe alcohol is a gateway drug. I believe alcohol is a gateway drug to stronger drugs. Now I'm sober. I don't drink alcohol. I gave up alcohol a year ago. I have had a couple of setbacks with alcohol, just a couple of drinks. People have offered me drinks. I had a really good friend. He offered me a beer and I drank that, but I only had one beer, and somebody bought me a bottle of wine as a gift because I'm a window cleaner, as a Christmas present, and I just had 2 glasses of wine, but I didn't buy any, and if I call that a hiccup, well, but I have kind of given it up, you know. But I was habitually an alcoholic from when I became a Jehovah's Witness in 1996 till when I gave up alcohol in November 2019. So that's basically 23 years. But with my addiction to religion, it's when I was 13 I became a Catholic. Before I was the age of 13, I didn't know what to believe, but I had a lot of friends at school who were Catholics, so I'd go to church with them because I'm an orphan, and so religion. And I believe that drugs, I'm not bagging them out. Some people need drugs. There's a lot of good things drugs can do. They can kill pain, physical pain. Some people do need drugs, so but I could never stop with drugs, and they weren't good for me. So I'm not saying drugs are bad for you, but drugs, including alcohol as a drug, didn't work out for me really well, because I was drinking alcohol to escape reality and taking drugs. And with religion, I find that I'm not bagging out religion. I think religion can be very good for when we lose our loved one in death. It's very comforting to know that we may see our loved one again in heaven or on a paradise earth, or whatever you believe in. But I believe that drugs and religion are there so people can escape reality. And the reality is that we're all going to die. And I believe that religion, people use religion as a drug that eases the pain of losing your loved one in death. So, as I said, I'm not bagging out drugs, I'm not bagging out religion, but it eases the pain. Religion eases the pain of you losing your loved one in death, a lot like drugs ease the pain of cancer. And because it's the most painful thing to lose someone in death. And also religion is very good in a way, because it helps us cope, as I said, with the realities of the fact that we are going to die one day, and we're simply just not going to exist, So giving up drugs and religion, I have given up religion and I have given up drugs, meaning alcohol. When I say drugs, I mean alcohol, because alcohol to me was the gateway drug. It's the first drug I had before I had all the other drugs. But giving up religion, I have been disassociated from Jehovah's Witnesses for 22 years. I knocked on people's doors, and now I have given up religion. But I was so lonely about being shunned, because when I dissociated in September 2018 at the age of 57, because I dissociated, I've been shunned by Jehovah's Witnesses, I got so lonely that I started to go to other churches. I went to 7 different churches in Beaudesert, all Christian religions, Seventh-day Adventists, Baptists, Pentecostal, Church of England, Lutheran, Catholic. I even went to the Catholic Church. And I believe that all religion is like a drug that eases the pain of death, the reality that we aren't going to live forever. There will be a time when we simply won't exist, but we shouldn't fear death, because we all have experienced death before, because before you were born, you didn't exist. So for all those millions of years before you were born, you didn't exist, and that you were dead. So you're experiencing death. You're experiencing death in the 1920s and the 1820s and the 1720s and the 1620s and the 1520s. You're all out there in YouTube land were experiencing death, unless you were born in the year 1920. Yeah, not everyone, but if people, maybe still people around who were born in 1920, they might still be alive. But for the majority of us, none of us lived back in the 1920s, so we were dead in the 1920s. and we'll be dead again in the 2120s, and we simply won't exist, because with science, all the scientific evidence kind of points to there not being life after death. Because when you think of it, when you die, you decompose, your brain rots away, your eyes rot away, you simply don't exist. That's what I think happens at death, and the scientific proof seems to point that way. So I'm saying religion is a good way to numb the pain of the reality of our own death and the reality that we may not see our dead loved ones again. And my mother died when she was only 30. I was 1.5. My dad died, committed suicide when he was 38. I was 8. And my big sister committed suicide when she was 36. I was 33. And I have to face reality that I may never see them again. That is the reality. I may never ever see them again. But when I'm dead, I won't think about them. I won't dwell on memories. Like when I'm dead, it'll be like I've never existed before. And but it shouldn't stop us from enjoying the holiday of life, because life is like a holiday. It's like a holiday. Mother Nature has given us this holiday, and when you go on a holiday, you know the holiday is going to end. Like you're there, you're holidaying for 2 weeks, but you shouldn't let the end of the holiday, you're aware that your holiday is going to come to an end in 2 weeks, you shouldn't let that spoil the enjoyment of your holiday, because when you're in this holiday of life, enjoy it for what we've got, you know. And when you give up drugs and religion, well, let me go into drugs first. When you give up, say, drinking alcohol, just say drinking alcohol, or your friends go down to the pub, they have a barbecue where there's alcohol there. They may not care if you give up drinking, even if you smoke marijuana. Your friends may not care if you don't smoke marijuana or take drugs, the friends that you used to take drugs with or drink alcohol with, but you may drift away from them. And you being there in their company when you're sober and they're all drunk or stoned or tripping on LSD, you may not enjoy their company anymore, because you're not drunk, you're not stoned, you're not tripping on LSD like they are. So they may drift away from you a little bit, and you may drift away from them, because that link that links you together, like going to the pub and having drinks with your friends, smoking marijuana or taking drugs, your friends, you may not warm up to your friends like you did because you're sober. And it's the same with religion. Well, if you leave Jehovah's Witnesses, you will be shunned. So I don't want to believe in the Jehovah's Witness religion anymore. So I have been shunned by my community. So I've lost my tribe. I tried to join other religious tribes, but now I think, no, I don't need religion. I don't need religion, and I don't need to have a tribe. I don't have to have a group of people. I'm learning, actually, like after 2 years of being dissociated from Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm learning to be alone, and I'm enjoying being alone. It was hard at first, but now I'm starting to enjoy not having a tribe of people. I'm enjoying not having that family interaction, because no one's upsetting me. I'm just with my own thoughts. When I'm at the supermarket, I'll say hello to strangers in the supermarket. I'll say hello to people in the street I don't know. So it's made me become a little bit more outgoing, but at the moment, I don't really want to even be on Facebook, you know. I don't even want to be on Facebook. I've got Facebook activated on my phone, but I don't go on it, even though I've got a thing on it, but I don't want to go on Facebook. I'm quite happy just being alone. So I don't need religion. But as I said, I'm not bagging out religion. I think religion is a really good thing. it helps you cope with the reality of your own death, and it helps you cope with the loss of a dead loved one, because if you lose your loved one in death, there's nothing more comforting than you'll see them again. But to face the reality of you're never going to see them again, that is so painful. And some people just can't handle that, and they need religion and they need drugs, because drugs kill pain. Like religion kills pain. Religion kills the pain of losing your loved one in death. And it also makes facing your own death a little bit easier. I'll be 60 next April, 21st of April 1961. So next year I'm going to turn 60. So I'm thinking about death a lot. But I've resigned to the fact that when I do die, I'm just not going to exist anymore. And it'll be like before I was born. And you hear teenagers say to their parents, I used to say this as a teenager, I didn't ask to be born. I wish I was never born, because before we were born, we had no troubles, we had no anxieties, no bad memories, no trauma before we were born. So life was pretty okay before we were born. Well, there was no life at all, there's just nothing. There was the experience of no experience at all. So I'm learning to cope with the reality that when I die, I'm just going to simply not exist. That is the human condition, and everything living on earth is going to die. And the reason why we die, Jehovah's Witnesses say the reason why we die is the wage of sin pays us death. That is incorrect. The Bible says the wage of sin pays us death. I don't believe in that. Death is to make more space for babies that are to be born. Do you like dogs and kittens and birds and dolphins? Imagine if dogs didn't die. Imagine if dogs didn't die and they kept on having puppies, that you'd be up to your ankles in dog poo. And so death makes life more enjoyable for the living because it creates space for more babies. For more baby humans to be born, we need space, we need land. And if people didn't die, there'd be no room for the babies, so that's why we die. Death is just a natural part of life. Every living thing dies to make room for the next generation. And we live on in our loved ones' hearts. My sister committed suicide on this day. Today's date is the 21st of December 2020, but on the 21st of December 1994, my sister committed suicide. And she took a lethal overdose of Nembutal, which is a vet's drug, and I was living in Bathurst at the time. And what happened, my sister was down and she was depressed and she took her life, and I felt terrible about it because I thought, oh wow, what could have I done to stop her? And it just occurred to me that I think one of the reasons why she suicided, because I was moving to Cooma, to the Snowy Mountains, to become a Jehovah's Witness, where I think my sister needed me in Sydney. My sister wanted me to move to Paddington, Sydney, and she was my big sister. She was like a mother to me, and she loved me very much because we lost our parents when we were under the age of 10. Both of us lost because my sister was 11 when Dad died, and my sister was 4 when Mum died, and we were very close. And because I joined the Jehovah's Witnesses in Cooma, she wanted me to move to Paddington, and if I'd only moved to Paddington, she may not have suicided, but I don't know. But so as I was saying, isolation, when you stop taking drugs, for instance, alcohol, your friends may, we won't invite him or her because they don't drink and they're no fun. And your friends may not like you because you're sober, not because they care if you drink or not, because if you're going to be sober, it reminds them that, hey, maybe they have a drinking problem, you know. And it's the same with religion. When you give up your religion, whatever religion you are, your friends may say, oh, you don't believe in the afterlife anymore or God? They may think, you think we're wrong for believing in God or the afterlife? But you're just facing up to the reality of life, that we do die. And we may not see our loved ones again. That is the reality. And that's what is so hard to face. But face it, because it is reality. And once you accept it, that death is just like before you were born, there's nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. And who wants to live forever? It may not be too fun living forever. Maybe that's what makes life so enjoyable, is the fact that we die, and that this is a holiday, and the holiday is going to come to an end. If it went on forever, it wouldn't be a holiday. So talking about isolation, with this COVID-19, what you are experiencing now on COVID-19 with the social isolation, social distancing, families not being together, is like a lot like disfellowship Jehovah's Witnesses feel. Because when you disfellowship from Jehovah's Witnesses or dissociate like I did, your family will shun you. So you'll go through social isolation. So you people out there who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, and you're going through loneliness and isolation because of the coronavirus, know that there's people in the religious groups that have been shunned because they have left their religion and no longer believe the religion. So I believe that religion and drugs go hand in hand. They're twins, and they both ease the pain of realities of life. Now, that's all been said. Death isn't anything to worry about, because you've already been dead for billions of years. We all have experienced death. Even dogs and cats and elephants have already experienced death, and we'll experience it again, and doing things the second time around is always easier. So as I said, I don't want to bag you out if you drink alcohol or smoke marijuana or take LSD or whatever drug that you take, and I don't want to back you out if you're religious. But if you are religious, don't look down on me because you think I want to be a bad person. No, I don't. I want to be a good, law-abiding person. I want to do the right thing. I want to love my beautiful wife, Nicole, who is an inactive POMI, which means she's physically out of the Jehovah's Witnesses, but she's mentally in. Physically out of the Jehovah's Witness organisation, mentally in. It's called POMI. PMO is called, PMI is physically in the religion and mentally in the religion. I'm a POMO. A POMO is I'm physically out of the religion and mentally out of the religion. And I'm out over religion, and I don't want to join another religion. I'm quite liking being alone. I'm getting used to it. I didn't like it at first, but being alone, maybe that's the secret to happiness. The secret to happiness is not fearing being alone. So many people fear being alone. They fear being alone. They dread it. They dread it, losing their community and family. But it does get easier. Believe me, it does get easier. Me, after 2 years, September 2018, I was dissociated myself. But it does get easier. And it gets easier living without alcohol and drugs, because that can be hard, because like you depend on drugs and alcohol to cope with the stresses of life. But if you learn to tackle every emotion and feeling and know that the pain isn't going to last, nothing lasts forever. Pain, loneliness, it doesn't last forever. Our bodies adjust to being alone. I'm adjusting to being alone. And when you're alone and isolated, you don't have a tribe. it's quite good because there's nobody to upset you. Nobody to get you down. Well, that person really got me down today. Yeah, I've noticed that since I dissociated, because I don't have a tribe or a group of people or family. Nobody's upsetting me. Nobody's upsetting me because I'm not mixing with anyone. Yeah, and I'm not going to dwell in the past. I'm not going to be anxious about the future. I'm just going to enjoy the moment because that's all we have. Be a good person. Be kind to each other. Don't do things to people you wouldn't like done to you. Do unto others as you'd like them do unto you. Jesus' golden rule is a great one. And that makes this short life that we have a lot more enjoyable. And I just want to say bye now. And as I said before, I don't want to bag out people's religion. I don't want to bag out people who take drugs, because I think drugs should be legal, and religion should be legal too. But if they harm people, maybe go easy on them. You know what I mean? Because there is a purpose for religion and a purpose for drugs, and they are twins. They help us cope with the realities of life, numb the pain. Religion numbs the pain like a stiff drink of whiskey numbs the pain, or a smoke of marijuana numbs the pain, or a hit of heroin numbs the pain. So religion numbs the pain of life in general and the realities of life. But if we learn to tackle and face up to the realities of life, that, well, that's reality, and it's not that bad being dead. Just think of it before you were born. And who knows, I'm more inclined to think reincarnation's true. Because we got into this life form, a human life form. Somehow I was slotted into this life in 961. You were slotted into this life whatever year you were born. You won the lottery. So maybe in the 24th or 25th century you might live again as a dolphin or an eagle. Who knows? Nobody knows, and that's the meaning to life. Nobody knows. And I think one of the secrets to happiness is learning to be alone. No one to upset you. You're not really alone. You go to the supermarket, you say hello to people in the street. So if you do leave your religion, and if you do stop taking drugs, your drug friends, your druggo friends who you drink beer with down the pub may cold shoulder you. They may cold shoulder you. They may even shun you because you're reminding them, hey, maybe I have a drinking problem or a drug problem, or maybe I have a religion problem. Maybe this is a cult. Maybe this is a cult, and I should leave because it's harming me, and harming others. But I don't want to leave because I'm scared of being alone. I'm so scared of being isolated and alone. And I don't want to lose my friends and family. But when you give up drugs, you don't want to go down the pub and have a beer with your friends. They may think, what's happened to them? And they may not invite you anywhere anymore because you're reminding them that they've got a problem. Same with religion. They may cold shoulder you, but there's nothing so bad with being alone. I've had 2.5 years of it, and it does get easier. Believe me, it does get easier. So I think I've covered all the points of giving up drugs and religion, and why I think drugs and religion are good, but also the dark side of drugs and religion. How escaping reality can be harmful, but facing up to the reality of our non-existence after death, and the fact that we may not see our loved ones again. Enjoy your loved ones while they're here, and it's better to say to your wife, your husband, your son, your daughter, your friends, I love you, love you very much. Say it to them when they're alive, because when you write it on their headstone, it's too late. So tell your family and your friends, your your wife, your husband, you love them every day. I tell my wife I love her every day, because what use will it be if I write it on her headstone, you know? So tell your family and friends you love them, because it's too late when you write it on their headstone. So please don't shun your friends if they choose to give up religion and drugs. So I have to say bye now. Love you all. And this is my 30-second video. Like and subscribe. And my channel is called Justin Porter XJW. Bye then.